August 30th, 1548 was the happiest day of Catherine Parr's life. After years spent beside Henry VIII, she was finally free, married to the man she loved, surrounded by wealth and influence, and holding her first child in her arms, a little girl named Mary. But Catherine was given very little time to enjoy this happiness. Just 1 week later, Catherine was dead, leaving behind an orphaned baby girl who would disappear from the historical record before the age of 2, and whose fate remains a mystery to this day. In today's video, we will try to discover what became of Catherine Parr's daughter, Mary Seymour. Leave a like and let's begin. In January 1547, Catherine Parr finally became a widow and was free after Henry VIII's death. For the first time, she could decide her own future, and she chose something that was available to very few women at the time: a marriage for love. She was expected to behave modestly and remain in mourning for her late husband. But only 6 months later, she married Thomas Seymour, the uncle of the new king, Edward VI, and the brother of Henry's third wife, Queen Jane Seymour. Thomas and Catherine had known each other before Henry VIII set his sights on her. The king had removed his rival by sending Thomas on a long diplomatic mission abroad, so, in a way, Catherine finally got her revenge by marrying the man she had wanted from the beginning. This was Catherine's fourth marriage, making her the most married queen in English history. Only a few months later, she became pregnant, possibly for the first time in her life, as there is no evidence that she had ever been pregnant before, especially during her marriage to Henry. Catherine had longed for this child and began preparing for the baby with great care. The finest room in the castle was turned into a nursery, with large windows overlooking the garden. Catherine decorated it in her favourite colours, crimson and gold, and spent many hours embroidering items for her future child, including a scarlet tester and counterpoint that historians would later find listed among Mary's belongings. It seems that the pregnancy was not an easy one and was accompanied by nausea, as several letters expressing concern for Catherine's health have survived. Some of the warmest came from her stepdaughters, Mary and Elizabeth. Mary, who is often portrayed in the series The Tudors, as well as in many other films, as Catherine Parr's bitter enemy, wrote to her, "I trust to hear good success on your Grace's great belly, and in the meantime shall desire much to hear of your health, which I pray Almighty God to continue and increase to his pleasure, as much as your own heart can desire." You have to agree, this hardly sounds like the words of sworn enemies. The baby, whom so many people were waiting for with such love, was very active in the womb. Catherine shared her impressions of the pregnancy with her husband in one of her letters. "I gave your little knave your blessing, who like an honest man stirred apace after and before. I trust when you come it will make you some pastime." But this happy time of pregnancy and waiting for a new miracle was overshadowed by a scandal involving Catherine's husband and her stepdaughter. After Henry's death, 14-year-old Elizabeth went to live with Catherine Parr and her new husband. Thomas began showing an unhealthy interest in Elizabeth. The games and jokes that Catherine herself had once taken part in gradually became clearly inappropriate and increasingly suggestive. Catherine was genuinely attached to the girl, but in the end, she was forced to send Elizabeth away from their home. These two women, whose lives had been so closely connected and who had meant so much to one another, would never see each other again. On August 30th, 1548, Catherine gave birth to a baby girl, and both mother and child survived the delivery safely. The parents were overjoyed, and the fact that the baby was a girl did not disappoint them in the slightest. The child was named Mary, after Catherine's stepdaughter, Princess Mary. She came into the world surrounded by love, and was welcomed with open arms, which makes the rest of her story seem even more tragic. Only a few days after the birth, Catherine began showing signs of puerperal fever, and her condition quickly grew worse. In her delirium, she turned angrily against her husband, saying, "I am not well handled. For those that be about me careth not for me, but standeth laughing at my grief, and the more good I will to them, the less good they will to me." Perhaps Catherine believed that Thomas wanted her dead because of his feelings for Elizabeth. In any case, the pain delirium, and suspicion of her husband made Catherine's final days even more distressing. Catherine Parr died on September 5th, 1548, only 6 days after the birth of little Mary. She had outlived Henry VIII by just 1 year and 7 months. Her funeral was as simple as possible, arranged in haste and nothing like a royal burial. Catherine was accompanied on her final journey by Lady Jane Grey, another tragic figure of the Tudor era. And this would be only the first burial in the long and strange story of Catherine's remains. Of all Henry VIII's wives, it was Catherine who suffered the most disturbing posthumous fate. If you are interested in what happened to her body and why she was unable to rest in peace for several centuries, there is already a video about it on my channel. Little Mary Seymour was now left without her mother. And if you imagine that Thomas, grieving for his wife, would pour all his love and tenderness into their baby daughter, that was not what happened. Mary was sent to live with her grandmother, Thomas's mother, Marjorie Seymour. She was certainly experienced in raising children, but by then she was already on her deathbed, so her guardianship did not last long. The little girl was then moved, once again, this time into the household of her uncle Edward Seymour. But what was Mary's father doing during all this time? Thomas continued pursuing Elizabeth, hoping to marry her, while also trying to manipulate his young nephew, King Edward VI. Thomas bitterly resented the fact that the role of Lord Protector had gone not to him, but to his ambitious elder brother Edward. Eventually, he decided to abduct the young king, hoping to bring his nephew under his control and take his brother's position for himself. Thomas's plan was simple: enter the king's chambers at night and take the boy away. But as he approached, the little dog Edward loved ran towards him and began barking loudly. Thomas decided to shoot the animal, and the gunshot alerted the guards and woke the young king. Now imagine the scene. Thomas was standing in the king's bedroom with a pistol in his hand, while Edward's dog lay dead nearby. What do you think everyone assumed? Naturally, Thomas was arrested the following day and imprisoned in the Tower. Not long afterwards, he was sentenced to death for treason. Thomas's final wish was that his only daughter should be taken from his brother's household and placed in the care of Catherine Willoughby, who had once been a close friend of Catherine Parr, and, he believed, would look after the baby for the sake of that old friendship. After Thomas Seymour was executed on March 20th, 1549, Lady Mary Seymour, not yet 7 months old, became a complete orphan. She was also left without the inheritance of either of her parents, because Thomas had been condemned as a traitor and stripped of his possessions, which meant that he had nothing left to pass on to Mary. Catherine Willoughby was clearly not pleased by the arrival of the child or by the expenses she was now expected to cover. Although Mary no longer had anything of her own, as the daughter of a queen and the cousin of the king, she was still expected to live in a manner appropriate to her rank. She had an entire household of servants assigned to her, and they now expected to be paid, but Catherine could not afford their wages. She wrote long, complaining letters to the girl's uncle, describing her situation and making no attempt to hide the fact that Mary had become a burden to her. "All the world knoweth what a very beggar I am. You will understand, not least the Queen's child had lain, and still doth lie at my house with her company about her, wholly at my charges." It is painful to read how little love was shown to a child whose parents had waited for her with such happiness, and to see that the friendship between the two women did not survive such a difficult test. However, Catherine Willoughby's struggle to secure money for the girl's care was not entirely unsuccessful. In January 1550, a petition was submitted to restore Lady Mary Seymour's rights. This meant that the little girl could finally receive what remained of her mother's and father's estates, although by that time much of their land and wealth had already been distributed among other powerful families. And this document is the last known record of Mary Seymour's life. After that, the daughter of a queen, the cousin of a king, and the child of one of the most influential families in England simply disappeared from the historical record. It seems that she never received any part of her inheritance. Most likely, the little orphan died before reaching her second birthday, we know almost nothing for certain. There is no record of the date of her death, no confirmed burial place, and no surviving account of what happened to her. She may have died at Grimsthorpe Castle, where she probably spent the final months of her short and sadly joyless childhood. The only memorial to her may be a poem written by her mother's chaplain. I whom, at the cost of her own life, my queenly mother bore with the pangs of labour, steep under this marble, an unfit traveller. However, there is another theory that offers a small ray of hope. The Victorian author Agnes Strickland suggested that when Mary I came to the throne, Catherine Willoughby fled to the continent to escape Catholic persecution and took the little girl with her. According to this version, Mary later married a courtier who served Anne of Denmark, the wife of James VI and I, lived a long life, and had children of her own. There is even a family in Sussex that still claims to be descended from Mary Seymour and Queen Catherine Parr. And honestly, I would like to believe that this version is true, and that little Mary, Catherine's only surviving legacy in this world, had a future after all. Now I want to hear your theory. What do you think really happened to Mary Seymour? I cannot stop wondering how different Mary's life might have been if her mother had lived. Perhaps another fate would have awaited her. She might have grown into one of the most remarkable women of the Tudor age, or perhaps even become a close friend of Queen Elizabeth. But in reality, Mary Seymour became a victim of the indifference of the adults around her, and one more child lost somewhere between the pages of history.